Okay, so JLo, or Jennifer Lopez, just recently did this whole 10-day no sugar, no carb, but I think what she meant is starchy carbs challenge. And she got all of her, let me see how many followers she 86.5 million followers. Okay, so she had her 86.5 million followers do this whole sugar detox challenge with her. And honestly, this whole sugar detox thing is not a new concept. It's pretty common knowledge now that sugar is not good for you, which I'll be getting into today. But JLo was specifically doing it for a role that she's playing, and she was doing it to really kickstart her weight loss, to decrease that puffiness and inflammation. You've probably read all this as a natural benefit of reducing your sugar intake, but why? What happens when you quit sugar, and is it something that's sustainable? Should you guys be doing it? I'm gonna be going over all of that in today's video. Okay, if you don't already know who I am, I'm Autumn, and I'm a certified clinical nutritionist with my master's in nutrition and human performance. Basically means that I love going to school for nutrition, and I love everything that nutrition can do for the body. First, I want to start off with the absolute basic. When it comes to sugar, there's two main simple sugars that you're going to see most often in your diet, and it's fructose and glucose. Glucose, your body can readily use as is. Your body doesn't have to convert it into something else in order to use it. That's important to remember. Now, fructose, on the other hand, it's most commonly known as like the fruit sugar, but it's in other things outside of just fruit. But fructose, in order to be used, actually requires the liver in order to break it down and convert it into glucose. Nutrition alert. This means that you can actually have too much fructose, because just like anything that needs to be broken down by the liver, alcohol, caffeine, medication, there is a maximum amount that you should be having. Now, because it requires the liver in order to break it down, if you're consuming too much fructose, that actually causes so your liver starts to store that fructose on the outside of the liver, or within the liver, as fat, so that it can get to it at a later time. And this can lead to a condition called non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. It can also lead to insulin resistance as a result. All of that we know are factors that can lead to type 2 diabetes, to weight gain, a lot of different issues. This isn't a conversation on fructose. I just wanted to open up the conversation on fructose. So if you do want to hear more about fructose and the dangers of it and what really you should be doing about it, just comment below fructose and I'll make a video for you guys. Okay, but just going back to sugar in general, let's assume we're talking about glucose here, just to keep things simple. When you eat something that contains sugar, it goes through your GI tract and it's absorbed in your small intestine. Now, from your small intestine, this actually gets directly absorbed into your blood supply, and that's where it can be distributed throughout your body, stored as fat, whatever. But what happens when you first absorb this glucose or this sugar, depending on the amount of fat or protein or fiber, or even just the amount of sugar you're having in general, this will cause a spike in your blood glucose level and then a fall. Now, the reason why there's such a quick fall is because your body's working really hard to bring that blood glucose level back down. It's actually pretty dangerous for you to have high levels of blood glucose. So in an effort to protect your body throws insulin into the equation, which is the storing hormone, so that it can store that blood glucose, get it out of your blood supply. And this can actually result in an overcompensation and make it so that you have low blood sugar, which causes you to crave even more sugar. And then the cycle continues. So you can see how sugar gets really addicting. But going back to my point on how your body's trying to reduce that really high blood glucose level. So like I mentioned, having a high blood glucose level is actually pretty dangerous. Now, one of the reasons why is because if you have circulating levels of blood glucose, so that means it's in your blood supply, those sugars start to stick to your proteins and your cells. Now, sugar is actually really sticky. You've actually probably had one of these measures taken before. So hemoglobin A1C, or HbA1c, tells you the level of sugars that are actually stuck to this protein, and that shows you how consistently high your blood glucose levels are. Now, why is this a bad thing? Why do you not want sugar stuck to your cells? It makes those cells and those proteins really inflexible. And when it's inflexible, it can't do its job very well. And it's this that can lead to inflammation, along with a whole host of other problems like JLo's talking about. So yes, JLo, you are right about sugar leading to inflammation. And that inflammation can make you feel puffy or tired, and it can also lead to conditions like cardiovascular disease. So it's actually something pretty important that you want to take a look at. Now, as I mentioned, insulin is released when you eat sugar, or really any carbohydrates, but again, we're just talking about sugar right now. And sugar will cause a pretty massive release of that insulin because your body's trying to store it. Now, this brings me to my other point on how sugar actually can also cause weight gain. And that means it's constantly in storing mode. It's really difficult / essentially impossible for your body to be in both storing mode and fat burning mode. So if you have higher levels of insulin, then that'll make it so that your body can't tap into fat burning mechanisms. So not only are you storing, also aren't able to burn through the energy that you already have. Plus, one of the issues with eating sugar is that it does cause those spikes spikes and falls, spikes and falls. So you're eating every couple of hours and you're always hungry, which means that your insulin levels are always fairly high, which means that you're always in storing mode. Plus, having consistently high insulin levels can also lead your body to become insulin resistant, and that's the first step to getting type 2 diabetes. Now, if you're having whole complex sources of carbohydrates, you don't necessarily have to worry about this. If you're having sweet potatoes, if you're having small amounts of fruit, if you're having beans, all these things are actually really conducive to helping lower your blood glucose levels, especially when paired with fats and protein. And it's because that fat, protein, and fiber all slows the release. Plus, each of these foods, since they aren't stripped of their nutrients, contains antioxidants that actually help to buffer a lot of the damage that carbohydrates can cause through inflammation. So it's a symbiotic type of relationship that a food has that we can't achieve with something like sugar. So going back to this whole sugar detox, should you completely get rid of sugar? Should you completely get rid of all your carbohydrates like JLo did? For sugar, yeah, in all honesty, as much as you can get rid of any added sugars, that is going to only benefit you. It's going to increase your energy levels. It's going to decrease your inflammation. It's going to help you achieve a weight loss goal if that's something you have in mind. But also just reduce your risk of cardiovascular disease and type 2 diabetes. Does this mean you can't ever have sugar again? No. And in fact, I talk about this with this video, but we should be just more conscious of it. Do you have to do 10 full days of just completely getting rid of everything? No. But if that's something that helps you to kickstart your body into just reducing your sugar intake and getting rid of that sugar addiction, then yeah, go for it. Make sure you're doing it the right way. Please make sure that you're still eating enough. Otherwise, this is just, it's gonna result in a crash and burn. That's just what will happen if you don't do it the right way. Even quote unquote natural sugars are still sugars. So having things like honey or maple syrup, those aren't bad. They're a more whole source of sugar versus refined cane sugar. However, they still are sugars. And so you still shouldn't be liberally adding them to everything that you have. Now, I want to take a quick second just to mention how JLo was talking about she also got rid of her starchy carbohydrates. This can be beneficial for some people for weight loss. However, for long term, I don't recommend this. We need some type of starchy carbohydrates, especially specifically at night, to help our melatonin production to go up so that we can get great sleep, and that helps reduce our inflammation, and that helps reduce our cortisol levels next day. It really just helps with hormone balance in general. So please don't completely get rid of your starchy carbohydrates, especially if they're from a whole healthy source. That'll only lead to further sleep problems and hormone imbalance issues. And if you are trying to kick sugar, I have a great smoothie recipe for you guys. Here, yeah. You can check it out right here. Try incorporating this and you won't miss your sugar. And if you love all this science-backed information, make sure you subscribe right here. Come out with new videos every Tuesday and Thursday. All right, guys, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.